All right, shalom, shalom. All right, this is video 2, but it's really video 1 of the first subject, which I mentioned before, which is going to be banking. Okay, now this is a topic for this reason. As we all know, if you have the money, you have the power. Okay, even more so, if you can dictate the money, then you really have the power. Okay, and remember what I said in the previous video about characteristics of the children of Israel. They don't have no power. They're at the bottom of the social ladder, so on and so forth. Okay, now with this subject, I really hope to undermine this claim that the so-called Jews, you know, the locks, yarmulkes, etc., are the true Jews. They don't fit the bill, and I'm gonna start with banking because I think money is something that everybody understands. I think everybody understands that money is power. People understand the implications of money. So I want to start here because I think that this is, to me, crystal clear. Okay? And again, like I said, Revelation 2:9, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty. Okay? And we're going to find out if these people are in poverty or anything like that. Okay? Starting with the banks. Okay. Now first, let me, for you all who don't know about the Federal Reserve. Now, some of you do know. Again, the Most High is opening eyes and ears and minds, so I think a lot of people are becoming more and more knowledgeable about topics like this, okay? But for people who don't know, and for a refresher for people who do know, I'm going to read a little bit about the Federal Reserve, okay? All right. The Federal Reserve System has both private and public components, and can make decisions without the permission of Congress or the President of the U.S. The system does not require public funding and derives its authority and public purpose from the Federal Reserve Act passed by Congress in 1913. The two main aspects of the Federal Reserve System are the Federal Open Market Committee and regional Federal Reserve banks located throughout the country. Okay? Now, hopefully you guys understood that, but in layman's terms, the Federal Reserve is nothing federal about it. It's a private bank that makes decisions that affect the monetary policy in the United States. Okay? I'll give you one quick example. If the Federal Reserve decides to print more money, they can do that. Okay, what that does though is essentially cause inflation because, you know, the more of something you have, the less value, it has. Okay, and it has huge implications worldwide. Okay, it'd be bad enough if the Federal Reserve's decisions only affected America, but because the U.S. dollar is the main currency in the U.S., I mean, a lot of places you don't even have to trade your money in for the local currency. You can just use it as U.S. dollars. Oil is measured in U.S. dollars. Because America has that position as a world power economically, the decisions that the Federal Reserve Bank makes trickle down to the entire world. Okay? And that's not an exaggeration. Again, look it up if you think I'm making that up. But the decisions that they make have worldwide effects. Okay? Not that sink in. Okay? Also, let it sink in that this is not a government branch. Okay, they're not governed by the government. They're not subject to Congress. They're not subject to the president. This is an independent bank making decisions about monetary policy that affect the whole world. Again, as I mentioned before, if you are a children of Israelite, you don't make those types of decisions. Okay, if you are a real Israelite, you making a decision on whether you paying your heat bill or getting food. Okay, that's the reality for real Israelites. Okay, these people are making the monetary policy for the world. Okay, now why is that related to the Jewish people or the so-called Jewish people? We're gonna find out right now. Okay, now let's talk about the board of governors for the Federal Reserve System. Okay, this messed me up when I learned this, but this is true. Okay. Now some of these names may be, some of these names may be different, like one or two, but most of these terms have not expired yet. So I would say probably 90 to 95% of the names that are gonna drop on you right now are still accurate. Okay. And again, if I'm wrong about one or two or three, post it in the comment. It's all good. I'm not afraid of, I'm not afraid of truth and reproof and whatever else. Okay. All right. The Federal Reserve Board members, okay? Ben Bernanke, Jewish. Janet Yellen, Jewish. Elizabeth Duke, Jewish. Daniel Tarullo, Jewish. Sarah Bloom Raskin, Jewish. Jerome H. Powell, Jewish. Jeremy C. Stein, Jewish. Wow. All right, I think that Jewish people are overly represented on the Board of Governors for the Federal Reserve. Now, that is interesting. Again, these people make the decisions that essentially affect the economy of the entire world. And it just, I don't know if it's a coincidence or what kind of explanation you can give me. But to me, this don't sound like I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, okay? This sound like you running things, okay? You running the money, if you're running the money, you're running everything else, okay? Now, if only it stopped there, that would be bad enough. We see clearly from this that they're in some very influential positions in a very influential bank, okay? They make the monetary policy for the U.S., and it trickles down to the global economy. That's just a fact, okay? All right, let's see what else we can come up with. All right, let's scroll down here. And I found this also, okay? Now, you got your central Federal Reserve, but then you got different branches in different cities throughout the United States, okay? All right, now let's go through some of these names too. I'm going through the president, Federal Reserve District Bank presidents, okay? Eric C. Rosengren, Jewish, Boston. Charles I. Plazer, Jewish, Philly. Jeffrey M. Lacker, Jewish, Richmond. James B. Bullard, Jewish, St. Louis. Gary H. Stern, Jewish, Minneapolis. Thomas H. Honig, Jewish, Kansas City. Richard W. Fisher, Jewish, Dallas. Janet Yellen again, and it says married a Jew. I'm not sure about how they roll, but I think that makes it pretty close. Okay. San Francisco. Okay. Just reading those, and I think I took some notes about a couple of updates on those. Okay. Yeah. Minneapolis. His name is Narayana Kocher Lakota. I believe he's Jewish. Kansas City, Esther George. Esther is definitely a Jewish name, and I believe she's Jewish also. And San Francisco, let's see, John C. Williams. Okay, and I think that one's different too. You guys see, okay, do we see a pattern? Are we seeing a pattern? I hope that we at least starting to see a pattern, okay? Again, Federal Reserve, the most influential bank in the world. Okay, their decisions trickle down to the entire world. Prominent positions held by Jews at the, which we want to call it corporate level, the Board of Governors. Ben, Janet, Elizabeth, Daniel, Sarah, Jerome, Jeremy. Okay, now we go to the different branches. Presidents, Jewish, Eric, Charles, Jeffrey, James, Gary, Thomas, Richard, Janet. And remember, we got a couple updates. Narayana, Esther, and John. Okay, is this a coincidence? Okay, am I making this up? I'm not making it up. People, look it up. This is not hidden information. It's hidden in plain sight. Okay? If that was all, it would be bad enough. But there's still more. Okay? Let me scroll down. Jewish banks that own stock in the Federal Reserve System. Okay? It's still going. Okay? The Rothschild banks of London and Berlin. Goldman Sachs Bank of New York. What's that? Kuhn Loeb Bank of New York. Lazard Brothers Bank of Paris, Israel Moses Seif Banks of Italy, Warburg Bank of Hamburg, Germany and Amsterdam, Lehman Brothers Bank of New York, I don't know if that's still accurate, Chase Manhattan Bank of New York, it's Rockefeller joint. Okay, now again, is this a coincidence? Is this a coincidence? Do I have a problem? Okay, listen, I want to make it clear for all you people who think that I'm shelling out hate because they're in these prominent positions. I'm not. More power to them. I'm happy for them. It's all good that they got, you know what I mean? They are holding down the fort as far as these prominent positions in this Jewish bank, this Federal Reserve Bank that makes decisions for everybody, okay? It's all good. I don't have a problem with that. But the problem that I have is that if they do have these positions, and because they have these positions, they are in the forefront of making monetary policies that affect the entire world. I am saying that should be a big red flag, that should discount them from being the children of Israel as the Bible talks about. Once again, bottom of the social ladder, okay? Economically depressed, oppressed, okay? They don't powerless, don't have power. You know what I mean? Don't have decision-making abilities in a large scale like that, okay? These names that I just read, these may be some of the most important financial names in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, okay? Because like I said, the decisions that they make trickle down to everybody, okay? If they decide to print more money, guess what? You technically have now made less money that year. Why? Because inflation goes up. When inflation goes up, things are more expensive relative to the dollar. It's simple math, simple economics. Okay? Now, the children of Israel are under a curse because they disobeyed the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. How are you making these types of decisions, but yet you're under a curse? If it was just like one or two, it slipped through the crack. Even Israelites to this day, we got people in prominent positions here and there, sprinkled throughout, but as a whole, get serious. Come on now. Just named you 14, 15 names of the top spots. And then the banks on top of that. There's just more icing on the cake. Okay? It's really, really, really very simple once you start to do any amount of research. The claim doesn't hold water. Okay? Another thing that messed me up, doing some research about the so-called Jews throughout history, and one way that a lot of them end up making a lot of money was through money lending. Essentially, you lend out money at interest, and you getting that interest back is really the thing that propels your wealth, okay? You know, anybody who's borrowed money from a bank or whatever, credit card, etc., is based on interest. That's how they make their money, okay? That was a big way that so-called Jewish people have made money. And that's not just a 21st century thing, okay? People try to make the claim that the curse is lifted now. Okay, we'll get to that later. I don't see how that, I don't know when that happened or why that happened, because there are some stipulations as to how that's going to happen that have not happened, okay? But money lending, okay? Lending out at interest, and then you get that interest back. You've essentially made a lot more than you lent out, okay? That's what messed me up. And again, I don't think I mentioned this in the first video, but if you want to look at the curses of the Israelites, if you think I'm making it up about their position in the world and where they will be, Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus 26. Read those whole chapters and you'll find out real quick the ills that will befall the children of Israel. Okay? And let me hurry up because my time is running out for this banking video. Okay? Money lending. All right, I'm gonna make this real quick. This is specifically in the curses section, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 44. Okay, this is one of the curses. He shall lend to thee. When I say he, just means other people. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. I'm gonna read it again quickly. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Simple. This is money lending and how they make their money is the opposite of what Scripture says. Opposite. He will lend to thee, you will not lend to thee. Simple. I'm done.